Hello, my name is Zander Atlantic, and I'm going to take you on this long voyage from Bristol, England, on the the Atlantic Slave Triangle. And you see right here, I'm in England, Bristol, right behind me. This all started
during the time of
the Atlantic Slave Triangle.
Why was it called an Atlantic Slave Triangle?
It was called the Atlantic Slave Triangle because from Bristol, England, they go on a little ship and they fit 400. They don't go on a ship all the way down to Africa, and from Africa, they get their cargo and then go all the way to through the Middle Passage to North America. They'd either go to the Middle Passage.
And then from there, where they go back?
Africa, Caribbean, or Brazil.
And then from
from there they go all the way back to Europe.
Okay, and what shape is that?
That makes a triangle.
And what ocean was it in?
It was in the Atlantic Ocean.
So that's why it's called the what?
Atlantic Slave Triangle.
Okay, let's go on the journey and talk about the different steps on the journey.
Okay.
Let's start from Europe. When they began in Europe and they go on their trip, what would they take with them from Europe on their trip to Africa?
From Europe on the trip from Africa, on the trip to Africa, they take textiles, guns, and ammunition, and all sorts of other goods. They put them all on the boat and travel all the way down to Africa.
Now, when they got to Africa, who would they trade?
They trade their goods, their textile, guns, and ammunition, and they trade them for slaves. They usually got the slaves from nearby villages, or from their village, from their enemies, or from people that were in jail.
Now, who were selling the slaves to the Europeans?
The kings from Africa would sell the slaves to the Europeans.
Okay. And after that first leg, the second leg, what would happen?
They'd go through the Middle Passage, or they'd go to the Caribbean, Brazil.
So, but for example, the boats came in with all the cargo. They had to do what to the boats?
They'd have to get everything more comfortable and like move everything so they could fit all the people on the boat. They fit over 400 people on one boat.
What were the conditions like on the boat?
Very bad conditions. You didn't get to have any room, and you'd usually be on the boat for 2 months, and you'd be stacked in rows of 3 like you see right here in the picture right behind me. So you'd have no space for anything. So you had to be chained up. If you had to go to the bathroom, you just have to pee and poop in the same spot.
Or the people get sick on the boats?
Usually a bunch of 50% of them would die because of the sicknesses. Even the captains would die on top. Right here behind me, you see how life was on the ship.
Was it good?
The life on the ship was like the worst one you could imagine. People would try to jump off the ship or commit suicide so they could be with their families again.
Okay. Now, why were they taking the slaves to the Middle Passage?
They take them to the Middle Passage so they could sell them for other goods at the Caribbean, Brazil, or other countries.
Now, what would they work on when they got there? Like this picture behind you.
When they got to the U.S., to the Middle Passage, the slaves would work on their owners' plantations.
Okay. What kind of crops would they grow on the plantation?
They'd grow sugarcane, cotton, and coffee.
Okay. Why do they need to have the slaves on the plantations?
They needed to have the slaves on the plantation so they didn't have to do all the work.
Okay. Now, what was the life like on the plantation?
The life on the plantation was hard. Sometimes when they were molding the corn, they get their hands stuck in the molder and they'd have to amputate their hands.
Okay. What happened if they tried to escape?
If they tried to escape, they'd be decapitated. They'd cut their heads off. They'd kill them.
Did they have their own rights?
They didn't have any rights because they were other people's property. For example, if you had a pet, you didn't like take care of the pet very much, and you just like made him do what you decide to want him to do.
After they took the slaves to the Middle Passage, what would the ship people do? What would they load on their ships after they dropped the slaves off?
The people that bought the slaves would give them some of the stuff that they had produced.
Like sugar,
cane, stuff like that. Cotton, coffee, and then they load it all back on the ship and go all the way back to Bristol, England.
What were some of the consequences of the slave trade, Zander?
The consequences were that if you got chosen to go as slaves, you'd be like a bunch of the people would die. Like 1,000 people would die.
Millions of people died.
Millions of people would die.
Okay. Who suffered and why?
The slaves suffered because they had no space and had to pee and poo in the same spots, and they got sicknesses and died.
Okay. Who benefited and why?
The captains of the boats, the people that they sold it to, and the kings, because the sailors would get the money.
The kings from where?
The kings from Africa would get their ammunition and guns and textiles, and the people from the Middle Passage would get.
What would the plantation owners get in the Americas?
The plantation in the Americas were coffee, beans.
But what would they get?
They'd get slaves.
And then the goods, when they were finished being produced in the Americas, where would they go?
They'd go back to Bristol, England.
Back to Europe. Okay. How did it influence modern society?
They know that that slavery is not good.
That people should have their own rights?
Yes, the people should have their own rights now. They have free agency.
Okay. Is slavery still a problem today in the world?
Yes. It's actually more than it used to be before.
Okay, in different forms.
In different forms, though.
What did you learn from this project?
From this project, I learned that slavery is not good.
So thank you for listening to my project.
Thank you for listening to my project.
And coming on this voyage with us.
And coming on this wonderful voyage with us.
Have a great day.
Have a great